Hey, so you want to take a moto camping trip, but you have no idea to start. I mean, what gear do you need? Or maybe you have recently taken a moto camping trip and had an awful time. Terrible night's sleep, super uncomfortable. Well, don't worry, because today I'm going to break down the fundamental gear you need to enjoy your next moto camping trip. Stay tuned, because at the end of this video, I'm going to break down the two biggest mistakes I see moto campers make and can absolutely ruin your adventure. All right, so what are the goals here? Well, we obviously want to keep things nice and light. We're out traveling through the southwest Australia, riding some off-road terrain. So we want to keep that bike nice and lightweight. We want to keep it nice and tight as well, so we're not too wide tracking through the trees. But at the same time, we don't want to be ultralight. We don't want to be uncomfortable when we get to camp. We want to enjoy it because we want to come back and we want to do it again. All right, so the first thing we need to tackle is the big three. In the backpacking world, this is our tent or our shelter. It's also our sleep system. And finally, it's the luggage that we carry it all in. All right, so the first thing we need is something to carry it all in. This is the Mosco Reckless 40. This is my system of choice. I really, really dig this. So what we have here is a completely rackless system. That means no pannier racks needed to mount these bags to your bike. Simply throw them on any motorcycle, strap them down with the tie down points. So what you can see here is the outer shell, and inside these bags go the dry bags for the actual storage. Come check out my buddy's bike. So this is Mitch's brand new BMW 1250 GS, and he's got exactly the same Mosco system on it. This is the Reckless 40 again, and now you can see the dry bags mounted inside the harness. These are completely waterproof. No need to worry about your stuff getting ruined or getting wet. They're completely protected. Again, super slim, loads of storage space, absolutely perfect. All right, next up is the shelter. So let's go to camp and show you what we got. This is our home for the night. All right, so moving on to number 2 on the big 3 list, we're going to the shelter. So I like to rock a tent. Obviously you could rock something like a tarp or maybe even like a hammock. But for me, I really like a tent because it's super versatile. It means if I'm without trees, I can still set it up. If I'm on hard ground, I can still set it up. So this can kind of be set up anywhere I go on my adventures. This is the Nature Hike 1-person tent. It's a semi-freestanding tent. It's super lightweight at only 1.5 kilos, so it packs down real small in my bags. So when it comes to choosing a shelter for you, you need to work out exactly where you're going. Maybe something like a hammock will suffice because you've got lots of forest, lots of trees to choose from, but maybe a tent is the way to go. Maybe it's summer where you are and you can set up under the stars with nothing to worry about. All right, so the final piece of the big 3, the sleep system, probably the most important of all of them. This is a make or break because a good night's sleep is so important on your motorcycle camping trip. If you're too cold or if you're too uncomfortable, that's going to be no good. And the next day you're going to hate riding and you're not going to want to come and do it again. So you've got to absolutely nail this. And choosing a sleep system really depends on how you're packing and what kind of shelter you're using, but also of course on the weather. This is the 4th camping trip of the winter season here in Australia for me. So I've adapted this sleep system over this season to really perfect it, and now I'm super cozy even in really cold temperatures. And all this packs up real lightweight, so it is no hindrance on the bike itself. All right, so starting on the bottom layer. Right here we've got a $4 sunshade for your car from Kmart. This thing here is really great as a base layer for a little bit of comfort, but mainly for its reflective properties. It's gonna reflect my body heat back up to me, and it's gonna reflect that cold ground back to the ground. Alrighty, next up we've got the sleeping mat. I prefer a blow-up sleeping mat compared to a foam or other kind of mat. It packs up really lightweight and it is really, really comfortable for me. This is the Big Agnes Rapide SL. It's got a really high R value. What R value means is simply the level of insulation you have. So how good it can reflect body heat back up to you. What we don't want is that cold ground sucking all that heat away, particularly in the colder months. All right, finally, on the top layer of the sleep system, I have my sleeping bag. This is a 650 Loft down sleeping bag. So I prefer down to synthetic because 1, it's really, really comfortable, and 2, it packs down and compresses far better, so really great for packing on the bike. So before you actually pick a sleeping bag itself, you need to check its comfort rating, and be careful because manufacturers can write whatever they want on the sleeping bags. Usually you're going to get 3 different ratings. You're going to get a comfort rating, you're going to get a limit rating, and you're going to get an extreme rating. Okay, so the manufacturer can list whatever one they want, and they can list all three. This is a comfort rating of 0 degrees Celsius. It is a limit rating of -6, and we've got an extreme of -28. And what that extreme means is I'm probably gonna just survive in that kind of temperature. So what I find is that this is really perfect for the kind of terrain that I'm tackling here in Australia in the winter months. I'm a pretty cold sleeper. I'm quite lean. I don't have any natural insulation. So I actually like to add a sleeping bag liner into this. It feels really good against skin, really comfortable, and it adds a little bit of extra warmth as well. You are probably going to need a couple of different sleeping bag options because of the different conditions and the different temperatures that you're going to be facing. All right, finally, there are two really big mistakes that many first-time moto campers make and you've got to avoid to make sure you have an awesome, awesome trip. The first one is packing shit you don't need. This is everything I need for my clothing and my toiletries. Some spare underwear, some spare socks, a towel, toothbrush, and a small deodorant stick. That's it. You don't need spare pants, you don't need spare tops. You're gonna stay in those same stinky thermals for your whole trip, and it's gonna be fine. And the last one is make sure that you test your gear. There's nothing worse than setting up out in the backcountry and having something break, something be faulty, or something simply you don't know how to use. Make sure you take that time to test the gear in a known environment. Maybe it's your local park, maybe it's in your back garden, wherever it is, test that gear before you head out here. All right, so that is the fundamental gear you need to have a successful moto camping trip. But one of the biggest challenges we face as moto riders is making sure we stay safe, especially if we're riding off-road and especially if it's a multi-day trip. So, if you want to learn more about some great tips and some great techniques that I adopt for staying safe and some awesome gear that I use to help communicate emergency responders and loved ones back home, check this video right now.